Welcome to Teatro Absurdo with Huilo Marvavilla, brought to you by Jaguar Bridge Productions and The Great Mystery. Well, hello there, podcasters. Welcome to Teatro Absurdo. I'm Willow Marvavilla, and this is Series 3. Welcome aboard to that which is ludicrous, preposterous, crazy, and, if you're lucky, dazzling. Well, greetings, absurdites. You made it back. Ooh, we're getting into the shadows of the mystery, destruction, and renewal of the Jaguar portals. We'll just say that. We all know it's art, and my headdress just fell. So what's absurd? Everything. We'll just start there. But to my mysterious listeners in the ethers who are following this story, because at this point, we're in, 8 episodes or so along. So if you're just tuning in, this is the story of some mystical, magical art that I created and how all of it was destroyed over 2 decades, including a huge art and ecology center in Costa Rica. And it's the explanation of the symbolism, the intention behind it, kind of like the Da Vinci Code modernized. And then the mystery of the destruction, what might have gone on beyond the circumstance. So if you're just tuning in and you want to pick up the ball, go backwards in order to go forwards. It's kind of what we do in life sometimes. But for those of you that are good students, good absurdites, and are right on point. So last week we heard a testimony from Red Wolf Dancing Bear. Thank that beautiful being, because I basically wanted you to know that it's not just me. There are other people that have witnessed the strangeness, witnessed different levels of the destruction in person, have witnessed these artworks, et cetera, et cetera. So what I'd like to do right now is let's go another layer in, more into the woo-woo, step beyond the fixed reality, move into a more multi-dimensional layer. The paintings were portals. And what do I mean by portal? They were intended doorways or gates for the viewer to enter. Of course, not literally, I suppose physically, although that would be really cool, and that could be my objective. I've always said to my friends, if I disappear, you better start studying my paintings because one of them worked. So these paintings were done in order to encourage the viewer and their wonderful minds to reconsider perception of events, of self, and thus self-empowerment. There's been some films like What the Bleep, La La La, go watch that, and such, yet Hollywood still has to whitewash the depths of the human mind by fantasizing it, or it may spook the viewer too much. Well, not really. Actually, Hollywood does a really good job at spooking us. So, and if you step into this right now and you're following it, we're working on a film, Cries of a Jaguar. So you're kind of in the gist of co-producing. And like, if you could imagine what it was like for writers and producers and all these people that give you these visual treats on all your streaming devices, et cetera, your books, et cetera, you're kind of in that spectrum right now. So I think what's happening is I'm looking at how humanity has become very egotistical, and I'm asking people to stop it, open your eyes, your mind, your heart. there's so much more behind the veil, right? So anyway, what happens is I wanted to, I mentioned that there was a friend of mine who I had met in Italy, Lisa Renee. I'll direct you to her website, energeticsynthesis.com. But I think what's important before I really discuss what happened with that phone call after the initial paintings got shredded under a bloody eclipse moon at a desert retreat, that I want to take a look at a little more of the mystery and intrigue of what was going on before I even met this psychic, before I even landed in the desert to put the paintings out, that eventually got destroyed by a possessed man. But anyway, let's just kind of start a little bit about how my mind was working in that moment. It was like a 6 a.m., knock on the door from my beautiful friend Red Wolf, who was weeping, sharing the news that all of my art had gotten destroyed. And he knew what it meant to me and the work involved. He left. After he left, I laid in this bed in silence and just kind of, and desert silence is so quiet at times, it's almost unnerving. You can hear your own heartbeat and ringing in your ears. It's trippy, but I was in that silence and I was contemplating, and the first thought that came to my mind was, oh my God, should I not be doing this jaguar magic? I mean, this stuff is real. It's not just a tattoo. It's not just a piece of jewelry. It's not something to be cool. It's something that was literally channeled to me through dreams, through encounters with Faeline beings. Literally, I had been surrounded, or I was camped out on this artist retreat land in the desert. And one night I woke up and looked out the back of my pickup truck, and there was a mountain lion walking away. So it's kind of interesting. I do have a relationship with the Faeline kingdom. Anyway, off back to what was going on before I landed in the desert, because I think it's really relevant to the story and intrigue of what may be devouring these paintings and artwork. So I was in Europe, and before I went to Italy and went to there, I was at an artist retreat in Spain, which was located at the base of their local holy mountain known as Montserrat. If you don't know about Montserrat, please look it up. There's lots of wild mysteries around it. Certainly, there's the mysticism around the Black Madonna, that's covered with emeralds, the mysterious cults surrounded around that. And the Madonna was not a white woman. She was of deep color. What's also in there is around Montserrat. I'm going to kind of elaborate on that later, but it has to do with the conquistadors that were up in the monastery in this mountain. And all that was taking place around where I was doing an artist retreat, another one in Spain. I landed there with the objective to create 13 portals of consciousness. So again, I was just in this, I wouldn't call it an obsession, just an intrigue, a mission sort of, not a Mormon mission, a spiritual offering. I had become fascinated with a book. Please go research this and buy it, read it. It was Carl, I believe it's Kalaman's book, Johann Kalaman. It was called The Mayan Calendar and the Transformation of Consciousness. And all of these not all, many of these books, Jose Arguelles, et cetera, they're translations, they're interpretations, they're possibilities of the Mayan magic and the calendar. They're not literal. I think that's holding space for the actual Maya people. And also knowing that much of their libraries and their doctrines, et cetera, in those cultures were destroyed by Christians. So it's word of mouth, most of it, or it has to be deciphered through the artifacts left in the temples and the tombs. However, again, I was at this place in Spain and I wanted to do these 13 portals, sort of series of artworks that were an immersion experience, which is really trendy now, sans VR, virtual reality devices, that people could walk through the installation, because I was really fascinated with the holosphere, creating holographic experiences. Interestingly enough, I only painted 12 portals. I never felt I could paint the 13th one in a fixed state. However, there'll be another podcast about it. I did end up congealing the 13th portal at a later date. But incidentally, all of these paintings, these murals, these transparent murals I made in Spain, I would say 90% of them have been destroyed in flames. I painted, as far as technique, I was fascinated once. I went to a Cirque du Soleil, can't remember which one, but it was very interesting. They had dropped a transparent curtain around the stage and there were activities going on behind it. So it was sort of like looking into another world, another reality, a parallel reality. And I loved that. So I gleaned that technique from them. So I bought a bunch of transparent fabric in Barcelona and took it up and started painting glyphs of Mayan and Aztec deities that were noted to have certain characteristics of levels of consciousness. So when I speak of levels of consciousness briefly, again, find Kalaman's book. It's like one of the levels of consciousness, the earliest, the primal. So it's like hermetic principles, cause and effect. It's volcanic. It's like something erupts, lava flows, and then fertile land comes through it. So it's when we do one thing, we get something else. But the theory is, and then there's, for example, there's another level of consciousness, the technosphere, that's up a few levels from the primal. It's what we're experiencing now, which is understanding mechanized realities and information. Certainly AI is a part of that. But the idea is that the human mind would transcend, move through, glean, move, graduate, keep expanding until, not until, but yes, and reaching unity consciousness. And then moving on through multiples of levels beyond our capacity to understand. So, so there's that energy that was going on. But again, in Spain, what also happened is I want to start to, because this will come up a lot more with Lisa and onward, is that how there are ideas that certain people, certain art, certain music, certain anything can become an energy attractor, magnetize something. It's like the whole thing about, positive Pollys and negative Nancys, being around one or the other too much. If you're only around positive people, I don't believe in that. I think we do need to look at our shadow, and like a battery, we have positive and negative energy. I digress a little bit, but I've been told and researched that there are energy fields, beings, as I discussed, that are curious or, I don't know, sinister around the growth of human consciousness. And that magnification, art or whatever person, can become a target. If maybe they're really onto something. I don't know. So here's an interesting thing. The strangest that occurred in Spain, not only the development of those portals, transparent portals, was I had a ghost experience there that was really trippy. The building was a centuries-old winery. It was next to a cemetery. I found out later that there was a book with a number of ghost stories from that residency, etc. But there was one night and I was all alone, and this building was just really vast and big and old. And like had these huge wooden doors, that opened the front door, and a huge fireplace, and it just reeked of longevity. So I'm in my little dorm room or whatever on the second floor, and I'm working on some videography that I'm going to project through the transparent murals on the night of the installation show. And literally, I felt the hair stand up on the back of my neck and like a whoosh. And with the same, oof, I got goosebumps just thinking about it. And I felt like the door behind me, it was probably 10 feet behind me, be pushed against. Not rattled like wind, but literally be pushed against as if something was trying to get in. Ooh, I was freaked out. Look at this. I don't know if you can see this, but the hair is standing up on my thing and my arm. And I was spooked, so once I calmed down, I was like, well, I need to kind of go investigate to see if somebody's here. And it was a really big building. So I remember opening the door and looking up and down this long, dark hallway. I didn't hear any wind. I went into the little other art studios down the hall, didn't see anything. And then I went to other parts of the building, didn't see anything. And then what I did is I went into the kitchen, which was sort of a gathering spot, and I lit a fire. And I remember I kind of had this idea that somehow it would settle the energy, and it did. So it's clear to some level, okay, ghosts, schmost, Europe has a lot of those. But the connection is that if we look to the desert and the mentioning of that artist retreat in New Mexico was a crossroads for travelers, for indigenous peoples, for centuries, possibly warriors, possibly a ghost, an entity entered the vulnerable man who shredded the paintings. So in any case, you're getting a gist of where I'm going. So then I landed at Damanhur, and Damanhur, Damanhur, look it up. It's a art and spirituality community north of Torino, Italy, fascinating place in the Dolomite Mountains. Those are fascinating as well. They're mountains known for dwarves and elves and witches and wizards, and it's reminiscent, they say, of Middle Earth. It's a Tolkien environment for sure. So I landed there and I absolutely felt at home. I was fascinated by it. Absolutely. But I'm not necessarily going to speak a whole lot about that, except that the temples were underground. They were devoted to the mythology of humanity and the mysticism. These people some of them considered themselves to be from Atlantis. They considered themselves to have the ability to time travel. They had a healing modality and philosophy called Selfica. Look all those things up, but that was inspiration for me, and also deep inspiration for what I ended up developing and founding in the Jaguar Luna Arts and Cultural Center in Costa Rica, which was subsequently destroyed. So, okay, my friends, this has gone on long enough. Breathe. But isn't this like crazy shit? It's like, honestly, it's beyond the circumstantial stuff. All these different places, different people, different artworks, etc. So we'll see what's happening, but things go bump in the night. I don't know. So anyway, stay tuned, absurdites, and until next time, bye-bye. And that was it, my dear friends. Teatro Absurdo Series 3, brought to you by Jaguar Bridge Productions, angels, guardians, guides, and perhaps a few demons, if you're lucky, from the underworld. So tune in to us on all the major social circuits around the universe. Bye-bye.